two different ways. They contradict themselves all the time, and there's as much as they are unconscious of themselves. But they don't know it. They think they're all one. Everybody sees that there are two. And some know him only from one side, some others know him only from the other side. And then there are situations that clash, because if the way you are creates certain situations with people in your relations, and these two situations don't chime in, they are just dissonance. And the more that is the case, the more the people are neurotic.
Actually, would you say that the individual may even have more than two personas?
We can't afford it very well to play more than two roles. But there are cases, for instance, where people have up to 5 different personalities in cases of dissociation of personality, where, for instance, the one person, say, call it person A, doesn't know of the existence of the person B, but B knows of A. Or there may be a third personality, C, that doesn't know of the two others. There are such cases in literature, but they are rare. Very ordinary cases, it's just an ordinary dissociation of a personality. One calls that a systematic dissociation, in contradistinction to the chaotic or unsystematic dissociation you find in schizophrenia.
What is the difference between the term ego as you see it and the term...
Well, you see, the ego is supposed to be the representative of the real person. For instance, in the case where B knows of A, but A doesn't know of B,
yes.
In that case, one would say the ego is more on the side of C.
Yes.
Because the ego has a more complete knowledge, and A is a split-off personality.
You also use the term self. Would this have a different meaning than, say, ego or...
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You see, when I say self, then you mustn't think of I, myself, because that is only your empirical self, and that is covered by the term ego.
Ego, yes.
But when it is matter of the self, then it is matter of a personality that is more complete than the ego, because the ego is only consists of what you are conscious of.
Yes.
What you know to be yourself. For instance, in our example, B that knows A, and A doesn't know B, B is relatively in the position of the self. Namely, the self is on the one side the ego, on the other side the unconscious personality, which is in the possession of everybody. Very often it's just the other way around, that the unconscious is in possession of consciousness. But that is a different case. Now, you see, while I am talking, I am conscious of what I say, I am conscious of myself, yet only to a certain extent. Quite a lot of things happen. For instance, I make gestures. I'm not conscious of them. They happen unconsciously. You can see them. I may say or use words, and I can't remember at all having used those words, or even at the moment I'm not conscious of them. So, any amount of unconscious things occur in my conscious condition. I'm never wholly conscious of myself. While I'm trying, for instance, to elaborate an argument, at the same time, there are unconscious processes that continue, perhaps a dream which I had last night, or a part of myself thinks of God knows what, or of a trip I'm going to take, or of such and such people I have seen, or when I am at writing a paper, I am continuing writing that paper in my mind without knowing it. You can discover these things, say, in dreams, or if you are clever in immediate observation of an individual, then you see in the gestures or in the expression in the face that there is what one calls an arrière-pensée, something behind conscious, so that you have finally the feeling, that man has something up his sleeve, And you can even ask him now, what are you really thinking? If you're thinking all the time something else, yet he's not conscious of it. Or he may be. There are, of course, great individual differences. There are individuals who have amazing knowledge of themselves, of the things that go on in themselves. But even those people wouldn't be capable of knowing what there is going on in their own cultures. For instance, they are not conscious of the fact that while they live a conscious life, all the time a myth is played in the unconscious. A myth that extends over centuries, namely archetypal ideas, a stream of archetypal ideas that goes on through one individual, through the centuries. And that comes into the daylight in the great movements, say in political movements or in spiritual movements. For instance, in the time before Reformation, people dreamt of the great change. And that's the reason why such great transformations could be predicted if somebody has been clever enough to see what there is going on in people's mind, in the unconscious mind, would be able to predict it. For instance, I have predicted the Nazi rising in Germany through the observation of my German patients.
Yes.
They had dreams in which the whole thing was anticipated, and with considerable detail. And I was already absolutely certain in the years before Hitler came, in the beginning of the, well, I could say the year 1919, I was sure that something was threatening in Germany, something very big and very catastrophic. And I only knew it through the observation of the unconscious. You see, there is something very particular in the different nations. This is a peculiar fact that the archetype of the anima plays a very great role in Western literature, French and Anglo-Saxon, not in Germany. There are exceedingly few examples in German literature where the anima plays a role.
Yes.
You know, that's it becomes from the fact that not one woman is buried unless she's buried as alt Kaminfegerskaffee, at least. She must have a title, otherwise she hasn't existed.
Okay.
And so, you see, it is just as if, now mind you, this is a bit drastic, but it illustrates my point. In Germany, there are no women. There is Frau Doktor, Frau Professor, Frau Kommerzienrat, the grandmother, the mother-in-law, the grandfather, father, the son, the daughter, the sister, la femme. So next is the plot. Well, it is the idea, you see. Now that is an enormously important fact, which shows that in the German mind, there is going on a particular myth, something very particular. And psychologists really should look out for these things. But they prefer to think that I am a prophet.
Ha! Now, this is, of course, a very interesting, remarkable set of statements here. How would you look at Hitler in this light? Would you see him as a personification, a symbol of the Father?
Oh, well, no. Not at all. No, you see, I couldn't possibly explain that very complicated fact Hitler represents. It is too complicated, you know. He's a hero figure. And the hero figure is far more important than any fathers that have ever existed. Only was a hero, in the German myth. Mind you, a religious hero. He was a savior. He was meant to be a savior. That is why they put his photo upon the altars. Yeah. Even. But the psyche has two important qualities. The one is the environmental influence.
Yes.
And the other is the given fact of the psyche as it is born. The psyche is by no means tabula rasa. We are a definite mixture and combination of genes.
Yeah.
And they are there from the very first moment of our life. And they give a definite character, even to the little child. And that is a subjective factor, looked at from the outside. Now, if you look at it from the inside, then it is just so as if you would observe the world. When you observe the world, you see people, you see houses, you see the sky, you see tangible objects. But when you observe yourself within, you see growing images, a world of images, generally known as fantasies. Yet these fantasies are facts. You see, it is a fact that a man has such and such a fantasy. And it is such a tangible fact, for instance, that when a man has a certain fantasy, another man may lose his life. Or a bridge is built. These houses were all fantasies. Everything you do here, all of the houses, everything was fantasy to begin with. And the fantasy has a proper reality. That is not to be forgotten. Fantasy is not nothing. It is, of course, not a tangible object, but it is a fact, nevertheless. It is, a form of energy. Despite the fact we can't measure it. It is a manifestation of something. And that is a reality that is just a reality as, for instance, the peace treaty of Versailles or something like that. It is no more, you can't show it. But it has been a fact. And so the psychical events are facts, are realities. And when you observe the stream of images within, you observe an aspect of the world within. Because the psyche, if you understand it as a phenomenon that takes place in so-called living bodies, then it is a quality of matter. As our body consists of matter, we discovered that this matter has another aspect, namely a psychic aspect. So it is simply the world from within, seen from within. It is just as if we were seeing into another aspect of matter. It is the idea that is not my invention, that the old Democritus already said, talked of the spiritus insertus atomis, namely the spirit that is inserted in atoms. That means psyche is a quality that appears in matter. Doesn't matter whether we understand it or not, but this is the conclusion we come to if we draw conclusions without prejudice. And so, you see, the man who is going by the external world, by the influence of the external world, say society or perceptions, sense perceptions, thinks that he is more valid, because this is valid, this is real. And the man who goes by the subjective fact is not valid because subjective factor is nothing. No, that man is just as well based, because he is based himself upon the world from within. And so he is quite right, even if he says, there is nothing but my fantasy, And of course, that is the introvert. And that the introvert is always afraid of the external world. He will tell you, when you ask him, he will be apologetic about it.
Yeah.
He will say, of course, yes, I know my fantasies. And he has always a resentment. And as the world in general, particularly America, is extroverted like hell, and the introvert has no place. Because he doesn't know that he beholds the world from within.
Yeah.
And that gives him dignity, and that gives him certainty, because it is nowadays particularly the world hangs on a thin thread.
Yeah.
And that is the psyche of man. Assume that certain fellows in Moscow lose their nerve or their common sense for a bit. And the whole world is in fire and flames. Nowadays, we are not threatened by elementary catastrophes. There is no such thing as an age bomb. That is all man's doing.
Yeah.
We are the great danger. Psyche is the great danger. What if something goes wrong with the psyche? It is demonstrated to us in our days what the power of psyche is. Oh man, how important it is to know something about it, but we know nothing about it. Nobody would give credit to the idea that the psychical processes of the ordinary man have any importance whatever. One thinks, he has just what he has in his head. It is all from his surrounding, his thought, such a thing. And particularly if he's well housed, well fed, then he has no idea of himself. That's the great mistake. Because he is just that as which he is born, and he is not born as tabula rasa, but as a reality.